Yeah, we're so glad you're here. Oh, we're so glad to be together in unity. The higher wisdom. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Do you need wisdom in your life? How many understand that wisdom is, in the scriptures it says that wisdom, or that humility is the beginning of wisdom, right? And so in order to receive wisdom, you have to be open to it, and you have to be in the frame of mind to allow it in. Because sometimes there are people, I didn't know if you knew this, there are people who think they have it all figured out. They already know everything. You know, they're 15, 16, 12. No, just kidding.
40, 50.
40, 50, 60, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So, in James 3:17, it says, the higher wisdom is first pure, then peaceable. Mm-hmm. You know when you're getting the higher wisdom because of the essence of purity, and it is peace making. Yeah. It's about making peace. How many understand that the divine is all about helping us to become peaceful with ourselves and with each other? That is the sign of the higher wisdom. Okay? Yeah. So what is wisdom,
So
Leah?
wisdom is more than cleverness or intellect. It's that, and it's not just knowing what's right or wrong either. It's that it's seeing through a situation to the essence of the truth of the situation. So it combines intuition, discernment, and compassion. So how many of you have thought, you know, I have this situation going on and I know what the answer is. I know how it's supposed to be solved, right? And it doesn't get solved that way. And later on you see the wisdom of why it unfolded the way it did. Because my logical mind, my intellect, can oftentimes be very faulty at solving dilemmas and coming to the right decision about things. So one of the things I need to learn to do is use wisdom to make good decisions, to make the right decisions. And we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, true wisdom combines intuition, discernment, and compassion. Right? So intuition, discernment, and compassion. That is the foundation of wisdom. Okay? So a more precise definition of wisdom is judgment without condemnation. Say it with me. Oh. Wisdom is judgment without condemnation. See, the kind of judgment when Jesus said, do not judge unless you want to be judged, is the idea of judgment with condemnation. How many know that you judge things in your life all the time, right? You look at your car and you see that it's dirty and you judge that it needs to be cleaned up, right? Right? You have to use your judgment in order to make sure that you're hanging out with the right folks, that you're moving and going in the highest and best direction for your life, right?
So one of the great biblical stories of wisdom is that story of King Solomon.
Yeah.
With the two women that were brought with the one child before him. And they both claimed to be the mother of the child and wanted him to determine which mother would get the child. And they both had their stories, right? And when it came down to it, King Solomon, instead of issuing a simple ruling, he proposed a very shocking solution. Cut that baby in half and give each woman part. So what do we think? What do you think happens? The real, true mother cried out, begging King Solomon not to do that and to spare the life of the child and give the baby to the other woman. So in that moment, the compassion that she had for her child revealed the identity of the child's mother, right? It revealed the true identity in that compassion. It got to the truth of the situation.
Right.
It got to the truth of it. So Solomon's wisdom was not about proving either one of them right or wrong. It was about getting to the truth. And that proposal that he presented definitely got them to the truth. And he used knowledge rightly to achieve the highest outcome. You can have all of the knowledge in the world, and if you don't use it rightly, it doesn't really benefit, does it? You have to know how to use that knowledge rightly. So he could have made a declaration and just determined with his knowledge that one of them was the mother. But using that divine wisdom, he came about with that solution that brought the truth out. It's a beautiful thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And so, being a wise person, it's not about being right. It's about seeking the truth, getting at the truth. How many know that politics is not about being right or wrong, but it's about what is the truth, right? In our culture, it's about getting to the truth. In our religions that we have, our spirituality, it's about getting what is the truth. In Unity, we like to say that we are all students of the truth. Okay? We're all students of the truth. And as a student, guess what? I'm always learning. I'm always gaining more insight and more discernment. I'm becoming more intuitive. I'm becoming more compassionate. I'm becoming more in alignment with what true wisdom is. Wisdom is a package deal. It carries with it so many beautiful traits and characteristics. When you truly meet a wise person, you know that you will never be condemned. You know that this person is never going to hurt you. You know that this person is only out for your highest good because they want the truth. Do we have any truth seekers here this morning? All right? And here's the thing about that. You've got to be willing to exchange your untruths in order to get at the truth. Now there's the truth with a small t and truth with a capital T. The small t is the relative, It's what works for you. But how many understand that there's a higher truth? And that's what you want to live your life on. That's what you want to base your life on. Because everything else changes. Everything is changing. I don't know if you've noticed that the world is changing. We're going through more transition. And guess what? You're going to keep going through more transition. Because that's what this life is about. This life isn't just that you set up shop and then you just sit there and oh yeah, I'm done now. It's all finished. How many know you never get it finished?
Unfortunately, no, you never get it finished.
You are See, it's we come from that state of oneness and wholeness and beauty and wisdom. But this human character that I play, this James King version that I play in the world, right, is temporary. And that's the part of me that is allowing for the evolution. Because the human part of you has to surrender to the higher mind, to the higher ways. What does it say in Isaiah? It says, my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. Seek first this kingdom, this invisible reality that's all around us, that's within us, right? Yeah. So, we're going to talk to you about how to use wisdom in daily decision making. How many's ever had to make a decision in your life? How many have made all your decisions are perfect? Anybody here? Oh, thank you. Thanks for being honest with us. Right? So step one, are you ready for step one? It's pretty heavy. I don't know, and I'm being serious about this, I don't know if you can do this one. You may want to write this down. You may want to get a tattoo with this on it. You ready? Do nothing with intention. Do nothing with intention. Because how many know that you reap what you are doing? You reap from what you are doing. And so the first thing you need to do is stop it. Stop doing all that stuff. Because doing nothing can be an act of great spiritual trust. It's not about avoidance. It's about allowing the way to unfold through divine guidance. Mm-hmm. So, ladies and gentlemen, this week, your mission, if you choose to accept it. But we're not going to self-destruct in 10 seconds. Anyway, do nothing with intention. Right?
So do nothing, but not in a passive way.
Be still.
Be still.
And know that I am God. Be still. Because what you want to do is you want to live your life from the stillness of your being. Say with me, oh.
So for those that would say, well, James, that sounds like avoidance. You're just avoiding.
Yeah. And it could be for some people. So how do you know the difference? When you do nothing in fear, that's avoidance. If you are fearful, ooh, I just can't do, I don't want to look at them, I don't want to talk to them, I don't want to think about that, I don't want to face that, I don't want to make this decision, I want to just run from it.
Yeah.
All right? That is avoidance. And that comes from what? Fear, which is not a still place inside. Fear is a frequency or vibration of
That's
right?
actually an active do nothing.
Yeah.
You're intentionally not doing anything to run away from something, to
Yeah.
avoid something. So the do nothing that you're talking about is a passive kind of do nothing where you're being still, you're letting it work out, you actually are standing in a place of trust
Yeah.
in wisdom, right?
Yeah. So this is, if you've ever studied any of the Eastern religion, how many know Christianity is an Eastern religion? It is. Because it comes from the East. Sure. And so the idea is we need to learn how to do more nothing in our lives. Wow, I went to that Unity Church and they told me, don't do anything. Do nothing. Wow, I can do that. That's easy. Just try it and see. Because you're an American. You can't just do nothing. You've got to do what? Something. Even if it's wrong, I got to do something, you know. But you need to put more nothing or no things in your life. Stop with all the things in your life, right? And learn how to what? Be. Be. Do you know when those little bumblebees, we talked about this a few weeks ago, they flit around all these different flowers, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know that they are pollinating the flowers. Because what happens is they're looking for something sweet. How many ever get up in the middle of the night looking for something sweet? And that's what the bees do. They're looking for the sweetness of life, the joy. And so they go and they partake of the nectar of the sweetness. But what happens is they get a little bit of that powdery pollen on their little legs. And so the next flower they go to, they give a little pollination. See, and they spread it around. And how many know that's how we are? By seeking the sweetness and the joy, squeezing all the juice out of it that you can get,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
By doing that, then when you're out there in the world, you're pollinating, right? Moving from flower to flower, from person to person,
Yeah.
sharing what you have, even though you may not even be consciously aware that you're helping people. Isn't that amazing? Say it with me. I just don't know how beautiful I really am.
Let's say I know how beautiful I am.
But you get the point, right?
I do get the point.
Okay.
Yes.
So, if you want to know if you're living in a state of avoidance, and you probably really already know, right? How many know? You really know, all right? Here's what you need to ask yourself. Am I avoiding making this decision out of fear? Or am I pausing to align myself with the higher guidance? That's what you ask yourself. Am I reacting out of fear, or am I just taking a moment? How many know that sometimes we just need a moment, don't we? You need a moment.
Yep.
And how many know it's okay to tell people, I need a moment? Maybe a couple days. Right? Take the moment. Take the moment for yourself so that you can settle, so that you can be, right? And do something fun. Say it with me. It's time to do something fun.
It's time to do something fun.
For goodness sakes. For goodness sakes, have fun with your life, right?
So let's affirm together. I choose to trust in the universal flow of good and plenty. I choose to trust in the universal flow of good and plenty. I am always at the right place at the right time.
I am always at the right place at the right time.
So now after that first step of doing nothing with intention, the second is to gather options and then listen to your intuition. Wisdom works hand in hand with intuition. Many of us feel intuition in our gut area, right? And as you consider your choices, you want to tune in to that inner guidance system. So there is a practice that you can do when you're sitting in that stillness. And remember that when you're sitting in this stillness, you gain inner clarity. You're aligned with divine love and wisdom. And in this stillness, you hold this decision. And now you wait to see if you get a green light or you get a red light. And how do you know? Well, some of us do actually see the color, but a red light is going to feel heavy. It's going to feel anxious or fearful, right? Might feel tight, constricted. The green light, on the other hand, is going to feel expansive and peaceful. And you're going to get that lighter feeling like, yeah, I can breathe easy. That feels good. So that's one thing you can do. And when you listen deeply, your body and your spirit will signal Which direction leads to the truth? Some people do muscle testing, right? They look for that in the body. There was a young man, Daniel, who had 2 job offers. One had a high salary and prestige. The other paid less, but aligned with his heart and values. Still uncertain, he visited his grandmother, and she handed him 2 small toy ladders and said, "Climb each one in your imagination. Where do they lead?" As Daniel pictured each path, the high-paying job felt heavy and hollow. The other job brought a sense of peace and quiet joy. And so he chose the second, trusting the wisdom that came from within. It felt lighter. It felt peaceful. Even though with the logical mind, wait a minute, you're not going to go with the higher salary? But see, divine mind knows you're not going to be happy there. This is the path for you.
Because see, your little mind, sorry to tell you this, but your little brain is very limited, okay? It can only see what's happening now, right? Just a little bit in front of you.
Yep.
The higher mind sees the big picture. Says, oh, down the road, you're going to get raises and you're going to develop relationships. You're going to meet somebody that's going to be your best friend, or maybe even somebody who you partner up with. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you want to follow. You want to follow that light feeling, that that balanced feeling on the inside, the graceful feeling, not that heavy. I had a couple call me one time. They said, "James, we're thinking about buying this house, but we're just not sure. It needs a lot of work." They said, "Will you come and look at it and tell us what you think?" And I said, "Well, I'll come with you, but I'm not going to make your decision for you." Right? And so I went over there, and we're walking through the house, and they were talking about this and this, and I said, "Yeah, there's a lot of potential here. There's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work." And so I said, "All right, let's just stop for a minute. Let's take a breath. Now, when you think about this house and you see yourself living in this house, say, 6 months from now, what kind of a feeling do you get?" And the wife, she got a heavy feeling. She said, this is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. I said, "Yeah, trust that. Trust that." Right? Now, sometimes maybe the house needs a lot of work, but you're supposed to do it. Make sense? So I know you guys are doing a lot of work right now in the house that you got. But you were supposed to do it, right? And so we follow that. We follow our inner guidance, and we know what direction Spirit wants us to go in. Because it's lighter, it's brighter. How many know why angels can fly? Because they take themselves so lightly. And that's the way we need to be. Right? So, when you listen deeply, your body and your spirit will signal which direction leads to what? The truth. Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the truth. What's the real truth of this situation? All right, step number 3. Sometimes when you don't know what to do, but you're open, you're feeling, maybe I'm not sure. Okay? Maybe you're just not sure. Well, in that case, you need to just make a choice. Because some people don't like to make choices. Sometimes you just say, okay, I'm going this direction. Right? This is the direction I'm going in.
Yep.
And sometimes the only way to know what direction to go in is to just begin. Let us begin. Trust the unfolding. The right path often becomes clear after you take the first step. Now, don't mortgage your house Don't quit thy job, right? But listen to your inner guidance, okay? Get still. And then make the choice.
It makes me think of that scene in Indiana Jones where he was crossing that big like chasm, that big canyon-like area.
The big hole in the ground.
The big hole in the ground, and the stones didn't appear until he took the first step, and then the next stone, but he had to keep taking the steps.
That's kind of the way it works, yeah.
And sometimes that's, often the way it is. You just got to take the step and see what shows up.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Because the road reveals itself when you start walking.
Right.
I'm on the path now. This is the direction I'm going. And then all of a sudden, no, this doesn't feel right. And then so you go a new direction, right? But that will open up to you. But sometimes you have to just start. Sometimes you have to just take off in the direction that you feel that you should go. And as you do that, then things begin to open up. And you begin to see, oh, this is the better path for me. I chose well. Because you know how human beings are. We're always, what is that, FOMO?
Fear of missing out. Yeah.
You know, what would it have been like if I would have made that decision? If I'd have married Sheila? You know what I mean?
You wouldn't have been happy. You just wouldn't have.
There you go. I wasn't talking about me. I'm speaking in generalities now. All right? And this is the big picture we're talking about here.
You know, one of the things too, you can ask yourself when you're adjusting. You know, when you've made the choice, asking yourself, does this bring me closer to peace? Does this feel peaceful? Does this bring me closer to unconditional love? Does this separate? Does this bring a separation? You know, so things that move you toward peace, things that move you toward unconditional love. That's a good way to kind of check in sometimes too when you're in that adjustment period.
Now you make the decision with openness. You know, you don't want to be closed-minded, with openness.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel aligned, you can always course correct, right? How many know that you have a right to change your mind?
Yep.
Right? Say with me, I have a right.
I have a right
to change my mind.
to change my mind. And aren't you glad you did that with Sheila?
Yeah. I don't even know Sheila. I just made that up.
Oh, I know.
I'm feeling very judged this morning.
So step 4, after all is said and done, sleep on it.
Yeah.
Sleep on it. Give your subconscious time to process. You know, you have looked at the ramifications of both sides of the decision. You've sat in the stillness. You've started you've kind of got an idea of, I think maybe that's the right thing to do. Well, sleep on it.
Yeah. You know, Edgar Casey. Anybody's ever heard of Edgar Casey? He would actually get when he was a child, he'd get his school books and put them under his pillow. All right? Of course, he had a stiff neck a lot, but no. He would sleep literally on the books. And he would awaken the next day and understand and do well on the test, you know. So there's something about aligning yourself with truth, you know. Because I'm sure it was more than just him sleeping on it. It was, he was reading it.
I was going to say, because I've tried that and it didn't work. I failed the test the next day. It did not work.
So, sleep on it. And then give your subconscious time to process.
Yeah, to process it.
Right?
Yeah.
Give your subconscious time to process. Sometimes we're in too big a hurry, right?
Yeah.
How many know what hurry's twin brother is? worry. And when you hang out with hurry and worry, you're headed for disaster.
Yeah.
You're headed for struggles, right?
You know, the other thing that happens when you sit in the stillness, when you allow stillness, it's the same thing that happens when you are laying down to sleep. Your mind gets, not when you lay down to sleep, when you actually sleep. That's a better way to look at it. Your mind is at rest. When you're in the stillness, the mind is at rest, so that spirit, wisdom, divine wisdom, can come forth. Because when our mind is active, what's going on up in there? Yeah, there's so much chatter that it makes it difficult sometimes just to navigate your way through that. So getting quiet and having those moments when the mind is still and the mind is at rest, that clarity can come through a lot more pronounced. Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah.
before bed, set your intention. And you might make a statement, say, show me the way. Show me the way.
I'm open to a dream.
And trust that the dreams, the rest, and time will bring you perspective. I remember years ago, this was back in 2007, we as a community, we were meeting in a small space, and we needed a bigger space. And so we had this vision of this park-like property, that had some water on it. And we had room to move around and do things. And this was our dream, this was our vision, this was our goal. And so one night, we had gone a whole year and we just hadn't found anything that would work for us. And so one night I just laid there and I just, okay, all right, what should we do? Where should we go? And I had a dream. And in the dream, I was on this property and with the realtor. And the realtor was telling me how much the property was. And she said, it's over by Paris Mountain. Okay? And she said, but you're going to have to act quickly. I said, okay. And so we came over here in the dream. I'm talking about the dream. And we walked through the house next door, the stone house, which is part of the property. We walked through it and looked at it. And then we walked around the park, the property, and there were fences everywhere. Fences everywhere at the time. And we went around to this area here, which was behind a fence. And there was a group of people who were there. And there was this very petite, very short lady who was sleeping. And she rose up and she had these real big eyes and she looked at me like that. And then I woke up. I said, okay. And then I began to dissemble, and contemplate the dream. And I told Leah, I said, okay. I said, I think what my dream was telling me is that there's this property that's going to come to us, and this is how much it's going to cost, and it's over by Paris Mountain, and that there would be a short window of opportunity for us to act upon it. That's how I interpreted the petite lady, right? And so the next day, I get up in the morning and I go down to my computer with my cup of tea, and I pull up a listing that comes through from our realtor that her computer generated. Okay, she wasn't even aware that she sent it. It was computer generated. And so I looked at it, and it was this property. And I started to read about it, and the hairs on the back of my neck, and my arms were like, you ever have that happen? You know what I'm talking about. And so I call her and I say, Karen, this property looks very interesting. She said, well, let me call about it. She called right back. She said, well, here's the thing. So there's already 3 people that have seen it, and they're all going to be making offers on it. So if you want to see it, we have to go see it right now, because there's a short window here of opportunity. And so we had already, the church, we had already looked at all kinds of properties, and they had empowered me to be able to go and to make a bid based upon the approval of the congregation and the board. Okay? Because we would miss out on things, because here in Greenville, stuff goes quick. Because everybody wants to live here. And there's a million churches out there looking for a church. I didn't know if you knew that. There's a lot of them out there. So, so we said, okay. And so we got dressed. We were getting ready to go to a memorial service. And so we said, well, let's go by there before. And we walked through the house. And it was exactly what we saw in the dream. And we walked through, and there were these fences everywhere because they had horses here. And they had the fences to keep the horses in, right? And we walked all around, and we walked over to this area here, and suddenly I thought, oh, we could put a building up there. And we did, all right? And so it was amazing. And I remember being at the closing table, after it all worked out, sitting there with the board president, and I were sitting at the closing table. And the man says, he said, I told my wife that I really wanted the church to have it because there were 4 offers and they accepted ours. Right? And he said, I told him that I wanted the church to have it. I said, well, how did you know about it? So he said, well, I've been to your church. Twice.
Way back.
Way back. And I didn't know it. So we had an in, and we didn't even know. You understand what I'm saying? How many know there's a higher mind? There's a higher wisdom.
So, to recap, your steps.
Oh.
Be still, with intention. Yeah, you moved it. Do nothing. Do nothing, with intention. Gather your options and listen to intuition. Make a choice and adjust if needed, and then sleep on it.
Yeah.
So wisdom does not rush. It discerns. God's law doesn't respond to personality or effort, but to consciousness, to our consciousness. It sees, it trusts. True wisdom is less about finding the perfect answer and more about aligning with divine truth. So like Solomon, we are each invited to cultivate a deeper awareness, not to win arguments. Not to win arguments, but to illuminate what is real. So for you this week, I won't do this every week, but for this week, I have a little handout for you to take home if you want it. It's on the back table back there. Let's affirm together. Divine wisdom guides me. I do not judge, I discern. I walk in truth.
Just breathing gently, easily. Knowing that all is well. Just let it be. All is well. In this moment, I have everything I need. I have air to breathe. I have people around me who love me, who support me, who cherish me. We care for each other because we're a community, a spiritual community. We're here for you. We're here for each other. And allow yourself to just sense and feel that beautiful energy of healing and comfort. For you are cherished. And you're deserving of the highest good. You're deserving of the truth. You're deserving of living a life where you can make those decisions and you can move forward, following the truth, following the light, following your joy. We all deserve that, don't we? We all deserve happiness and peace. It's okay. So this morning we do pray for the highest good for all, for our nation, for our world. We release and let go of anger and fear and division. And we open to receive that beautiful, beautiful spirit of peace and reconciliation. Forgiving the creation, forgiving those around us, being a part of the solution rather than being part of the problem. For we seek the higher good. And as I do my thing, that little bee that flitters from flower to flower, carrying out that divine work wherever I go. For you have value and you have worth. Let's breathe that in. Breathe that in this morning. And whatever decisions you need to make in your life this week, I invite you to use this process and allow yourself to experience more joy and prosperity and good in your life. Be open. Be open to receive. And this morning we remember those that have experienced the storms and the tornadoes. We pray for the healing, restitution, restoration, the coming together. We're so grateful for this community. We affirm our prosperity and our health and our wholeness and our well-being. We say thank you, God, in the name of the Christ. And so I invite you just to do nothing for just a moment and just sit in the stillness and the quiet and just be. Just be. So now we just say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. So it is. I invite you to take a moment to stretch. Allow your spine to move and stretch a little bit. Feel your body waking up, feeling alert and awake, feeling connected. Say together, I'm connected.